These brothers made the purchase of a lifetime. It was a large piece of land on the outskirts of town. They were planning to build their own home there, but they did not expect this shed to still be present on the grounds. They opened it, and inside, they found a hidden secret that revealed the identity of the former owner. But before we start, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, be sure to click the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest stories. Brothers Henry and Tom were on their way to their purchased piece of land. It was a thrilling drive, and both brothers couldn't wait to see what their investment had bought them. They got the place for basically nothing at an online auction, so maybe it was a bust. But still, excitement was high. They arrived at the gate and took the first steps on their new property. It was a rough terrain, and Tom could immediately see that it needed a lot of work. But then they saw something they didn't expect. In the middle of structure was still standing, a building they did not see on the map they received after the purchase. It was an old rusty shed. It had seen better days, but it piqued their interest. Henry walked around the worn-down building while Tom yanked at the two large doors in the front. "Do you see another way in? Because the main doors seem to be locked tightly," Tom asked his brother. Henry walked around the corner to reunite with his brother. The shed had a heavy chain lock connecting the two doors together, but Henry knew just how to solve this problem. Henry looked at the ground beneath his feet and quickly saw the tool to their solution. He picked up a steel pipe that was laying in some rubble and shoved it between the lock's chains. After a couple of tries, they heard the sweet sound of a chain bursting. The air inside was musky, and it was too dark to see anything properly. So Henry and Tom used their flashlights to look around, because in the right corner of the worn-down building, there were multiple large boxes, some with hanging locks, just like the shed had, but smaller. The two brothers were fascinated. They felt like they were on some storage hunter TV show. The boxes were old, but the details on them were intricate. It made them look way too important to just be tossed out to rot in a shed, and their insides proved it. They were filled with documents, a complex-looking blueprint, and pictures of a man and his family. These must have been the original owners. The blueprint was filled with perfectly straight lines, drawing so detailed and precise that they must have taken months to create. But there was one detail that was free-flowing. It was the signature of the maker, the initials read R's, and they were encased in an upside-down triangle. Something about it seemed familiar to Henry. This shed and these plans quickly became more important than the land they bought. The two brothers stepped into their car and drove to the first place they could think of. The local library was the first stop on their road to discovery. The two brothers split up tasks and searched for hours. But unfortunately, to no avail, there was no trace of this mysterious RS. They had to try something else. Tom told Henry that they needed outside help. Maybe someone in this town knew more about R's and the land they had bought. So that's when they placed an ad in the regional newspaper asking for help in their search. And then the wait began. And it was a long one. For almost 2 months, there was nothing but dead silence. But then, one early morning, the phone in Tom's house rang. He told Tom that he was a historian and that he saw the man's Ed. "I am convinced I can help you." He said the historian did not only have a name, but also lots of other files that would be of much interest to them. The old man told the brothers that the man they were looking for was named Robert Stevenson, the original owner of the land. "Stevenson, that is also our last name," Henry said it all. Later, they would find out that this was no coincidence. The story and told them that Robert Stevenson was the wealthiest man in town, maybe even in the entire region. He lived back in 19th century, but besides his birth year and his status, there wasn't much known about it. The historian looked at the stuff the brothers brought with them and saw that there was a blueprint in there. "Hey, a blueprint. I have one of those as well," he said. The old man pulled out a large sheet of paper. It indeed was a blueprint of their land with a layout of the house in the center of it. It even had the same initials, RS, yet something was different. And as he held the stacked pieces of paper to the light, they saw that the historian's blueprint was missing a room. It was the exact spot where their shed stood. After Robert Stevenson's death, all traces of his life seemed to have vanished. His guess was that this secret room that lay in the same location as the shed might have something to do with it. This was so exciting. They approached the shed, a building they now saw in a whole new light. What secrets did it hold? Tom stomped on the ground and heard a strange sound. He stepped about a foot to his right and stomped again. The sound changed. "Henry, come over here. I think there is a hollow space underneath the earth here." It took both men about 15 minutes to fully clear all the dirt covering it. But when it was done, they stared at a wooden hatch in the ground, revealing what lay beneath. It was a dark hole with a ladder attached to one side. The first 3 steps were visible, but after that it was nothing but darkness. They found an old oil lamp hanging on the wall beside. They didn't expect it to still work, but they gave it a go anyway. The 150-year-old oil was still flammable, and the oil lamp lit up the entire room. It wasn't a musky old basement, but a well-organized living room that appeared in front of them. It was dusty, but it felt homey. Antique furniture was meticulously placed on the wall, hung a large oil painting of Robert Stevenson and his family. It was beautifully painted, and on the right bottom corner, the initials Rexy all again. They were now just inches away from the peculiar painting and were fascinated by what they had just potentially discovered. The discovery did not stop there, and he noticed that one of the corner pieces of fabric was lost just a bit. He inspected the gap and even put his finger into the hole for a moment. "Tom, there is something behind here," he said, smiling. Henry pulled it out and presented it to his brother. It was an old key, but that was not the only thing that came out. A letter fell on the ground at the same time. Henry looked at the envelope and saw the upside-down triangle again in the wax seal. He opened the letter and read, "If you find this secret room and my letter, you are a direct descendant of my bloodline, and with that you are entitled to all my family's riches. The key that comes along with this letter will help you unlock all of my wealth. This is my way to ensure the future for my family and all kin that follows." Henry and Tom looked at the key in amazement. The key fitted perfectly, and when they opened it, tons of golden and silver coins appeared. They weren't going to use the blueprints from Robert Stevenson and rebuild the old family home, a dedication to his legacy and a wonderful place for them to live. It took them 2 years to build, but eventually it was perfect. From the materials used to the layout, every inch was documented by ours, and Henry and Tom made sure to honor that. They even built the secret room back in. The historian found the family tree and they were indeed related. It was perfect. Now his house from the past was their home for the future.